Hey, 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 welcome to the Attic Manadad here. Gonna get you your 3 free packs today, and then we'll talk about some of the card updates with the Phyrexia All Will Be One alchemy cards. But first, if you don't know, this weird Phyrexian piece of mail here that has just shown up in mailboxes has a thing you can claim. If you click claim, and you get your 3 packs, and let's check them out. And then stick around. I'm going to go through all the new cards that are added in the alchemy set. If you hate alchemy, hit that thumbs down. But for those of you who want to see what is there, I was looking on YouTube the last time they had an alchemy update, and there was like no videos about it. So I was like, well, I'll just make a video about it, and that did pretty well. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to make a video explaining what the updates are with this latest round of cards. Let's see. Let's open our packs. In case you don't know what's in these packs, it's the rares, and it looks like the rares and the uncommons are from the alchemy set. So we'll talk about all these cards in detail when we get there. There we go. We got a Gyox Brutal Carnivora for our rare. And this one, oh, I did just the rares. And I got Surgical Metamorph, and I got Mythic Wildcard, which is great. Okay, so let's switch over to my browser. Is it there? Honk if you can see it. Okay. Tempered Steel we'll get to in a second. There's a card image gallery. If you follow some of those links in the other mail there, you'll find this. Or just search Alchemy Phyrexia card image gallery. This is Wizards' official gallery here. You could also probably find it on Scryfall. But I'm keeping Scryfall up because we have stuff like Galma the Shaper, which is a 3/3 vigilance, and when it attacks, you conjure a card named Tempered Steel into your hand and create a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token. Tempered Steel, of course, gives artifact creatures you control +2/+2. So, pretty strong card. I'm going to mostly talk about the limited. Limited is very easy because pretty much any of these alchemy cards are overpowered compared to the regular standard power level usually. Sometimes they're a little bit niche and they're kind of built around you, but you kind of always want to pick them in limited, almost always, rule of thumb. So Galma, obviously, in your blue-white archetype for limited is going to be a house. Tempered Steel is just such a powerful card. Artifact creatures you control get +2/+2. Can't quite curve with it because that's a 3-drop. Then you're going to be attacking, and then you can make the thing, and then you can play it. But then did you play a land, and then maybe you can play this 1-drop, Kemba's Outfitter, which is more of a red-white card here. It's a 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, you either make an equipment card in your hand, gain equip 1, or an equipment you control, gain equip 1. So super good for your Colossus Hammer decks and constructed, obviously. We got Nettling Host, which is a 3/3 toxic 2. You can exile it from your graveyard to conjure a card named Nettlecyst into your hand. And I'll bring up Nettlecyst so you all can see what that does. It's a 3-mana living weapon, equip 2, and then the equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and enchantment you control. So again, probably more blue-white, maybe red-white with the equipment theme. And then Norn's Fetchling here. It is toxic, though, so it could work in the black-white. Just a 3/3 toxic 2, I guess. It's just baseline good stats. Of course, that is rare. And then Norn's Fetchling is a 1/1 toxic 1, and when it enters the battlefield, you get a plains into your hand, and then if an opponent has 3 or more poison counters, you can seek a non-land card instead. So, pretty good. Just that, what's the guy called? The little farmer guy from one of the Innistrad sets that grabs you a plains. Very constructed, playable. Very good card. Phyrexian Insect. Let's look at what blue has. White got 4 cards. Blue gets 3 cards. We got the Quicksilver Servitor, 3/3 ward 2. Whenever you cast a spell from among cards put into your hand this turn, proliferate. So interesting. I guess that would include what you draw. And a lot of times you will cast what you draw anyway. So pretty good proliferate outlet. And a 3/3 ward 2 is no joke in limited. Maybe for constructed a little bit slow. Surgical Metamorph. It's a 4 mana 0/0. Costs 1 less to cast if you weren't the starting player, so it's 3 mana. And it enters the battlefield as a copy of any other permanent on the battlefield, except it's an artifact in addition to its other type. So I'm actually excited about this card for like Gyruda decks or things in like historic, but yeah, for limited, because it can copy anything, so it can copy your opponent's bomb. I mean, you'll play this for sure in limited, and it's an artifact, which is good for the themes that care about that. And then we got Tezzeret's Reckoning and Uncommon. Exile 3 random cards from your library face down. Look at them for as long as they remain exiled. You may play one of those cards. So, instant speed. Probably maybe like a blue-black deck is the best place for it. You're holding up a counterspell. They don't play anything. They're playing around your counterspell or something. You play this, and it's like just cycles itself and gives you a little card selection with it. Black. We got Blightwing Whelp. Is a rare 2/2 flyer, toxic 1. And if you want to pay 4 mana, it's got haste. And when it deals combat damage to a player, you seek a card with mana value equal to the number of poison counters that player has. So, insane card advantage on an invasive creature. Really good in limited. Probably a bit slow in constructed. Maybe they'll be used for it. Obviously, you know, hitting planeswalkers and stuff, the haste ability is nothing to sneeze at. Although it does have to damage a player to get the Seek ability. March Toward Perfection. You get a boon with when you cast your next Phyrexian creature spell, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter and Death Touch counter on it. So the +1's good for proliferating. And then you draft a card from the spellbook, and they don't include the spellbook here. We'll have to see if we can find that. Maybe have to go back to Arena to see what that is, but it's obviously going to be good. I mean, it's just make a +1 counter and a Death Touch. Adding Death Touch is always good too. There's some first strikers, especially in white, so it's a good black-white card. Shieldred's Assimilator is a 3/1 menace. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. If a card is exiled this way, you may conjure a duplicate of that card into the top 5 cards of your library at random. So, little bit of card selection. 3/1 menace for 2, though. Just a house in limited. Just going to make this format go even faster. Another kind of ridiculous design. This is cool. They got the quad pipper here. We'll get to that, though. So let's start with the uncommon. Hexgold Sledge. 3 mana for Mirrodin. So you're going to get, it's going to be a 3/2 when it comes down because it's getting +1/+1. And it also conjures Goblin Gavalier. Let's see how many Gavaliers there are. Just the one. Okay, so it's a 1/1 trample, +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. Is a warrior, which is relevant in like, I've played this in like Hammer Time type decks before. The trample is nice with equipment. And this only equips for 1, so I mean this is a good equipment. 3/2 that gets you a card and it leaves behind an equipment that equips for 1. It's great. We also got a 4/4 dragon. Enters the battlefield. If there are no non-basic land cards in your library, it deals 3 damage to any target. So, a little bit of a deck building restriction. You can't play your sphere lands in limited, and then you get basically a kill spell with a 4/4 flyer. Just ridiculous value for limited. You'll first pick that every time. Phyrexian Harvester. Mono red is actually probably in limited the deck that is easiest to get of the monocolor decks, red, because red is very deep and strong, and so if it's somewhat open in your pod, it is doable. And there is some fixing in the set. I've definitely seen people cast these Devastator type cards here. We've got 5/5 Menace. When it's dealt damage, seek that many non-land cards, and then you discard them at the beginning of your next end step. So if you attack with it, they double block, you get a bunch of cards. You can maybe cast it because you still got mana. If you block with it, you're going to have a bunch of cards on your next turn. Strong, not as strong as the other ones in the cycle, but I mean, I don't know. 5/5 Menace for 4 mana. Again, if your opponent has no removal, it's just game over after a turn or 2. Green, we have Rothgar. Bonded Engulfer. 4/4 trample for 4. When it enters the battlefield, you get a boon. When you cast your next creature spell, it perpetually gets +X/+X, where X is its power. So yeah, essentially doubling up. Your next creature is double size. Pretty good. I don't know if that's like mythic level good, but that's good. You definitely play that basically in any of your green decks. Red-green, of course, in limited is one of the stronger places to be in this set. Phyrexia Roach, 1/1 toxic 1. When it deals combat damage to a player, insects you control and insect cards in your graveyard, hand, and library perpetually gain toxic 1. All right. Now you're going to say set 1 type insect. Let's see how many insects there are. So not a ton. Just 2 at common. You got the Pestilent Siphoner and the Lattice Blade Mantis. Black is where you want to be with it, so I guess you want to be black-green. But Toxic 1 stacks, right? So even if this is just itself, it's just going to keep stacking up the Toxic if you can keep getting in with it, and then it'll end the game pretty fast. So, yeah, I mean, you'll play it. One of the weaker uncommons probably that we've seen. And then we've got Spawning Pod, 3 to bring out, and then 1 and tap, sacrifice a creature. So 4 mana attack, sacrifice a creature. You seek a creature card with mana value equal to 1 plus the sacrifice creature's mana value, and that creature is a Phyrexian, and you can only do it as a sorcery, so you can't do it in combat when your guy is about to die or in response to your guy about to be getting killed. That's good if you have a bomb in your deck, I guess. It's just a tutor for your bomb, and there are lots of bomb cards. You got your Thrun, and you just sacrifice some 3-drops. You have some 3-drops in your set. Green black, obviously, the black creatures want to get sacrificed. Some of the red creatures want to get sacrificed. So green black, green red. I'd say this is one of the weaker rares here. And then at multicolor, how many we got here? We got quite a few multicolors. Looks like 1 for each color pair potentially, plus a 3-color Darksteel Hydra. Some of you, maybe I played with some of these. If Midweek Magic is still going on, if you see this soon enough, you can play with some of these. They have pre-built decks that have these cards featured in them. Eric False Gold Warden is pretty good. It's a little bit of a slow burn, but eventually you pay 5 tap, sacrifice it, loses X life, you gain X life, where X is its intensity. It starts at 0, but then it goes up every time a creature enters the battlefield under your control. And that's it. Okay. But it also goes up in your graveyard, so if you can recur it, things like that, pretty good. It can just be a finisher. Not like white-black needed the help. White-black is the only color pair I've been having any real success in. I guess I've had a deck or two in green-red that has, one more than it's lost. But Bladehold Cleaver. Here's our red-white signpost. It's going to be a 4/4 when it comes in. So it's a 2/2. It gets +2/+2. And then when it dies, you get a card from the spell book, which, as I recall, are all like equipment-based cards. It does equip for 3, but that's not bad for a +2/+2. So again, we have to look up the spell book on those, so see if it's down at the bottom of this page. Contagion Dispenser, I played with this in the Midweek Magic. It is a bit slow. It enters the battlefield, proliferate, so you have to have stuff that you want to proliferate on when you bring it down. But again, every time you proliferate during your turn, you're going to draft a card in green-blue. Sometimes you can get, Thrumming Birds or something that's going to trigger it every turn. So it's essentially draw a card every turn with the right deck build. Probably a bit slow for this limited format, but some fun things you can do with it. Definitely fun to play with in the Midweek Magic decks, which are a little powered down from the standard alchemy or standard power level. Darksteel Hydra. Indestructible. Enters with X oil counters on it. Power and toughness are equal to twice the number of oil counters on it, so that's important. So you cast it for 4 minimum. It's a 2/2 indestructible. And then, of course, you can proliferate it. And when it enters the battlefield, you get Darksteel Ingot and Darksteel Plate into your hand. So let's look those up. Dark steel plate is the equipment that gives indestructible. Not great for limited, but you know, it's good for combos and things. And then ingot, I believe, yeah, is the mana rock here. It's just a 3-mana mana rock, but has indestructible. So that's cool. Not that you're going to necessarily play it with red, but is that red spell that destroys your own artifact to make a bunch of tokens, which is a little bit of a combo. You can destroy some indestructible artifact, and so it's not really destroyed, but you get a bunch of goblins out of it. If you want to do the full rainbow value deck, Glistening Extractor. This is another 4-mana artifact. There's with 4 oil counters on it, and during your upkeep, if there are 1 or more oil counters on it, you seek a card with mana value equal to the number of oil counters on it, then you remove an oil counter. So, again, good if you keep proliferating. It's going to draw you a bunch of cards. It's a bit hard for the blue-black decks to tap out, but maybe you've got a removal in hand and the board is clear, and then you're good to go with it. We'll see. I think it might be a bit slow and limited. You might not want to first pick that one. Gyak's Brutal Carnivora. It's a 2/4 for 3. At the beginning of your end step, put an oil counter on up to 1 target creature. And whenever a non-token creature you control with 1 or more oil counters on it dies, you conjure X duplicates of it into exile, where X is the number of oil counters on it, and those duplicates perpetually get +X+X. Then you shuffle those into your library. Yeah, I mean, over time, if you can build a really grindy green-black deck, you'll just win, right? Because over time, you're just going to have a bunch of creatures that have died and fill up your library, and so you're drawing gas, and your opponent is mostly drawing lands or not as good of creatures, but very slow. Again, probably wait until you're in green-black to pick it. Ichor Aberration, or Ichor Aberration, 3/3 flying defender, and if its power is 7 or greater, it can attack. And whenever you proliferate, if it's in your graveyard or on the battlefield, it perpetually gets +1/+1, and you can cast it from your graveyard. So, yeah, pretty good. Just like a better version of the Signpost Uncommon, which comes back from the graveyard when you proliferate. Innovative Metatact. Whenever 1 or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, seek a non-land card with mana value 2 or less. So, yeah, once you get this going and you're just pulling out all those little Spellbomb artifacts, or your, the Justicar is really good in the blue-white decks. Good value creature. Again, maybe not a first pick, although just anything that's 2 mana and going to draw you cards. Not draw, but seek. But, you know, card advantage, always good. Mephidros Slime. We have an uncommon green-black. The 3/3 trample. When it dies, you conjure Mephidros Slime into your graveyard. And then you double the power and toughness of Mephidros Slime and that card. And then you shuffle them both into your library. Okay. Kind of similar to Gyak's. I don't know. I don't think that's going to power up green-black in the way that they're hoping there. But let me know. Maybe there's a green-black mid-range deck that is actually alchemy viable if you're following the metagame more closely than I am. Quicksilver Lapidary. So I saw this card has a combo in like Historic Brawl or Historic, where it combos with the Displacer Kitten. So you play your Mox, you blink this, you make a Mox, you play the Mox, you blink it. So you can do infinite enter the battlefields, infinite artifact enter the battlefields. If you have a sacrifice outlet, you can sacrifice the artifacts. Definitely will be some kind of fun thing to do with that. For limited, probably not that exciting. It's a 1/1 that essentially draws you a land that makes mana that is not useful in your blue-red deck. If you're in Jeskai. We got the Seething Skitter Priest. This is a 3/3 toxic 1. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control and creature cards in your hand perpetually gain when this creature dies. Create a 1/1 colorless Phyrexian artifact creature token with Toxic 1. So yeah, all your stuff dies into a Might. This is pretty good. I played with this in the midweek event, and I liked it. Then we got the Skull Piercer Nat, flying 1/1 Toxic 1. Good stats there already. And when it deals combat damage to a player, a random non-land card in that player's hand perpetually gains when you cast the spell, you get a poison counter. So it's essentially doing, 1.5 or 1.8 poison counters per hit, and it's flying. So yeah, I think you'll play that. I don't know. It doesn't really play with some of the proliferate synergies in blue-green, but pretty solid. And we got Vexir Ictechix Air. This is fun golem build around. I think this is more for like Historic Brawl. Maybe I'll make a golem themed deck for my Tribal Tuesdays. On Tuesdays, we play the best tribes in Magic here on this channel. So hit subscribe to see more of that. But and I have done a golem video before, but it's been a while since I've done golems. And there's new tech here in 1 and Alchemy 1. 1A. Whenever you seek one or more cards, you create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature token, and golems you control have vigilance, which is the classic splicer thing. We also get a new rare land, taps to add colorless, 1 tap, discard a card, conjure a copy of it into your hand, and then 2 tap, sacrifice 3 lands named Phyrexian Scrapyard, conjure a card named Soul of New Phyrexia onto the battlefield. Let's see what that is. Soul of New Phyrexia. Heard of Soul of Ravnica? I think a lot of planes have souls. Oh yeah. This is from a Commander set, it looks like, originally. Or Magic 2015 originally. Yeah, it's from Magic 2015 originally. It's a 6/6 trample. And it can give permanents you control indestructible for 5 mana, and then you can pay 5, exile it from your graveyard, and give permanents you control indestructible. So, I mean, it is kind of a finisher if you have a slower deck. I think you'll probably play this. The ability to just, discard cards and turn them into lands is fairly useful in limited. Maybe in a Ruin Crab deck, actually. Maybe it's a historic mill deck thing. If you've got your Ruin Crabs out. Interesting card. I'll be interested to see what people can do with it. Looks like we don't have what the spell books are. So, yeah, leave a comment, or maybe check the comments, and I'll leave a comment when I find out what cards are in the spell books for the spellbook cards. That has been the latest updates to Alchemy here on the channel. Thanks for watching. If you watched this far, leave a hashtag Alchemy Tribe. Sure, hashtag Alchemy Tribe. And I'll remind you that Magic is a game so fun, even dads can enjoy it. Adios.